this company is now bigger than it has ever been. So you wonder, with all the revenue that they're generating, why they're even letting anyone go at this point.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are back once again with another edition of Smack Talk with the one and only legendary writer, editor, extraordinaire, photographer, a legend of wrestling media. Bill Apter is here.
Well,
how you doing?
It's great to be here, and always ready to chat. And great to be here on Smack Talk. Been here for the past few weeks. Dutch is still away, and I've grown a little Dutch beard just to, I don't know if you can you see it?
It's coming in. It's coming
in. But I don't think I'm going to take it.
Dutch level, but it's coming in.
Let's leave it up to the Smack Talkers and the Apter chatters here. Keep it or...
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
I hope even when Dutch comes back, I'd still probably like to be part of this show. I hope I don't meet the fate of things that have happened recently with WWE and AEW, where you're fired.
Indeed. So, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, because WWE on February 7th and February 8th had some announcements, as well as at the end of January had some releases from WWE's roster. It started off with Duke Hudson from NXT, and then we got a litany of announcements on Friday, February 7th, starting with AOP, Akam and Razor. You also had Cedric Alexander, Paul Ellering, the legendary manager, Sonya Deville, Giovanni Vinci, and then you had February 8th, which also Isla Dawn and the Good Brothers, Karl Anderson and Luke Gallows. And then finally, you had PW Insider revealing on Monday, February 10th, that Elektra Lopez was also part of the releases from WWE. So which one of those names kind of stands out to you the most, was the most surprising to you, and the one you're kind of most interested in seeing what's next?
Well, I'm going back to old school here. I think that the WWE Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders, would have been served really well by Precious Paul Ellering being in their corner. He is the person that, as you know, brought the Road Warriors into prominence. He was such a great part of that. And I mentioned to my contacts at WWE, I said, man, he would have been so great with the War Raiders. So, yeah, I'm sorry to have seen him go. Hopefully it's not his last shot in the business. Sonya Deville was a surprise to me, really was. I really didn't see that coming. I think, they had her on TV the past few weeks, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. And why they released her, I don't know. I didn't think it would be that difficult to not find a good program for her at this point. What about you? Who do you think was the worst one, meaning in a good way, but the worst one to release that they could have done something with, Sid?
I agree with you. I think the most surprising was definitely Sonya Deville, because Sonya had, such great skills as a character and on the mic, and especially her role as an authority figure on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown throughout, I believe it was from 2021 to about 2023. She did such great work in that role. She was out for a little bit, then came back last year, a part of Pure Fusion Collective with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and the name itself kind of did not get the best reaction from the fans. They kind of tried to adjust it by making it PFC, but she was still in that group. And like a lot of these releases are like kind of keeping like a lot of groups that were kind of in the mid card in flux, because like you said, you know, Paul Ellering, he was the manager for another kind of like bigger tag team in AOP, Akam and Razor, and they were a part of Final Testament, and Final Testament won the big feud with the YS6, or kind of won it, because they only had one matchup, and then they weren't used on TV for a while, and then they just get released like this. Then you got Electra Lopez, who was a good part of Legado del Fantasma.
Oh, so she was a large part of that. But I just want to go back to what we were talking about with Paul Ellering. To bring someone like that in for quite a long time and not utilize him, I just can't, you know, I look back at all the names that you read off, and the biggest Sonya Deville, they could have found something to do with her. I just don't get it. And Ellering to not be out front and doing his amazing promos. He's an amazing promo guy, and he just was not used to any decent extent at all. When you know, not just for nostalgia, but this guy can get people over verbally. He's so good at that.
And it was reported that Akam and Razor AOP wanted him to come back when they came back to the company. But then they put him in a group where, you know, Karrion Kross is the leader. So, of course, he's going to get his mic time. But he's also with Scarlett, who you would think would also get mic time. So you have three people kind of sharing the mic in one group. It was just a weird choice by WWE. I agree with you. They didn't utilize Paul Ellering to his greatest strength. A lot of these guys on the guys and girls on this list are just people that they just didn't utilize.
Well, not on the list, but what are they doing with Scarlett? I mean, really, it's practically nothing. Here you have someone who looks really good, great character. They kind of changed her look a while ago, and she's just, you know, standing there. There's no movement. There's no, I don't know. It's just like that whole thing is falling apart, and the whole ball is put on Karrion Kross at this point.
And he's doing well with it. He's doing well with what he's given right now. But yeah, they didn't utilize Final Testament very well. Blair Davenport was someone who was like considered like one of the best foreigners in Japan. Her run in Stardom, she became one of the few kind of gaijins out there who won the World of Stardom Championship. She had a short run in AEW, but she was kind of seen as like a very good prospect coming into WWE. They kept her in NXT UK for a while. She had a short run in NXT, and then they called her up, and it was probably the weirdest call up to me when it happened last year in the draft, because it really felt like she was kind of just kind of scratching the surface on NXT when she got called up. And she comes up, she has a short feud with Naomi. The matches didn't really get over well, and then she really just stopped being used since like last summer, and then she gets released here.
Yeah, I mean, WWE is a different ball game. You got to live up to their expectations, and maybe they just had nowhere for her to go after a while. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame. She will wind up probably going back internationally and making a big, you know, keeping a big name for herself. And who knows, maybe we'll see her back in a year or two with a different persona. They may not have been able to find a good persona for her, and that could have caused this.
Yeah, could have been the key factor. And then the last two people I wanted to mention were Isla Dawn, who won the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship last year in her home country of Scotland alongside Alba Fire. This was a very weird one when I saw it announced, because I was like you kind of have like tied her and Alba Fire together. So what's the future for Alba Fire without Isla Dawn now?
Well, we don't know that, obviously. So hopefully they've got something for her, or she could be the next release. We don't know if the releases are final at this point.
Yeah. You don't know. We never know when it comes to this stuff, because even this is kind of spread across a week with all these announcements of these releases. So we don't know.
Keep something in mind now. This company is now bigger than it has ever been. So you wonder, with all the revenue that they're generating, why they're even letting anyone go at this point.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Another person who kind of was just kind of finding a new role was Cedric Alexander. He just got moved back to NXT. He was working with Javon Evans in a tag team. They did the big angle where he got written off by Ethan Page. He came back for one more match, lost to Ethan Page a few weeks ago, and now he's a part of these releases. And immediately, I think it was PW Insider as well as Fightful Select reported that those within AEW believe that those in the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP, the current Shelton and Bobby, the current AEW World Tag Team Champions, they believe they are pushing for Cedric Alexander to get signed to All Elite Wrestling. So, what do you think about Shelton? What do you think about Cedric possibly going to AEW?
Yeah, well, we don't know if there's a 90-day non-compete clause.
There is. He did confirm that on his social media.
So that's a possibility. But unfortunately, Cedric Alexander is such a good worker. He really is. And unfortunately, he's still never gotten to the apex of where he should be. So to bring him into the Hurt business, they're not doing enough with the Hurt business at this point. So I don't know if that will really help his cause. When I first saw the Hurt business come into AEW, I thought Bobby Lashley was the absolute perfect model for the world champion in AEW, that they should put that belt on him, period, the end. They haven't really done anything much with the Hurt business. They look good. Their teamwork is great. MVP is such a great mouthpiece for them, but they're just in this whole jumble of AEW where you're not sure, who's on the top at this point. So does Cedric come in and just become another player? It's very cloudy. It's a very cloudy roster in terms of what they're doing in AEW. You know what I mean?
I disagree kind of with the Hurt Syndicate. I think they've done a good job with them. They presented them very well because they really feel like the coolest thing in AEW.
Oh, they do, but I would put them...
Bobby and Shelton winning the AEW World Tag Team Championships, I think really is kind of putting it back a spotlight on their tag team division, which they really need. And Shelton, honestly, this 4 months in AEW has been better than the last 4 years in his WWE run. As far as Bobby Lashley, I think that they can do more as far as pushing him in the main event scene, but the main event scene is kind of crowded and has a lot of ex-WWE guys. I think that what the AEW audience wants is more of the younger kind of guys that represent AEW in the main event scene right now. So I think they're doing the best they can as far as using Bobby Lashley's star power to put a spotlight and a rub on the tag team division.
Well, I think that what I would do at this point, what I would want to see is Moxley Lashley. Because, I've talked to fans that love AEW, and I do too. I enjoy watching their shows every week, but there are so many run-ins, and it's so, after the show, I'm trying to get a handle on what was the main focus of the show. There's so much going on, where if you ask fans about WWE, what was the main focus of the show, they could tell you, like recently on Raw, it was Rey Mysterio and Logan Paul.
I would say the focus was really Jay, because they really drove that home.
Well, that was the beginning, but the whole thing was that the Elimination Chamber match was going to be their main event.